Every crime begins with a spark, an untold secret, an act of passion, or a moment of greed. In 1977, Deborah Clarke's murder set off a chain of mystery, betrayal, and an investigation that spanned decades. And tonight, we reopen her case. On the bustling streets of 1970s Miami, Deborah Clarke was chasing a dream. The 29-year-old nurse had moved to the city to build a new life, trading the quiet of small-town life for the hustle and bustle of the city. But on August 6, 1977, Deborah's routine disappeared without a trace. She was expected to show up for her shift that night. She was someone who never missed a day without calling. Her absence raised the alarm among her friends, who immediately called the police. Officer Henry Garrison responded to the call. Deborah's apartment appeared unharmed, no broken windows, no forced entry. But something was wrong. After failing to gain entry through the front door, Garrison discovered a sliding glass door on the second-floor balcony. Left with no other choice, he climbed up. Inside, he found her. Deborah lay motionless on the bed, her chest riddled with a gunshot wound. Blood stained the sheets, her face was covered in bruises, and strands of her hair were scattered across the pillow. Garrison's radio blared an urgent cry. "This isn't a missing person," he reported. "We have a homicide." Detectives Anna Delacroix and Paul Mendoza were assigned to the case. Their initial focus was on the details of Deborah's life, her relationships, her finances, her habits. The first clue came quickly. Deborah's purse was found next to her body, empty. A friend of hers revealed that Deborah always kept a pistol in her purse, but the gun was missing. Was this a robbery? If so, why were there signs of a struggle? The medical examiner's report was chillingly clear. In addition to the gunshot wound, there were signs of strangulation. This was no simple robbery. This was a personal robbery. Deborah's father offered another clue. She had been having an affair with a man named Alan Bregson, a successful real estate developer. According to her family, Alan had Deborah infatuated. He had bought her apartment, showered her with gifts, and even introduced her to his son. They seemed to be planning a future together. But Alan had a secret. He was married. And so did Deborah, even though her divorce had been finalized just a week before she was murdered. Detectives questioned Alan at his home. His wife, Elaine, greeted them, her face tense at the mention of Deborah's name. Alan claimed to have been in New York at the time of the murder, attending a Coast Guard training program. He produced his plane ticket as evidence. Elaine's reaction was harder to decipher. She abruptly left the room, visibly shaken. Her body language suggested she was not ready to share her knowledge. Then there was Ray Sobel, Deborah's building maintenance man. He had keys to every apartment and knew the layout better than anyone. Ray ducked, quickly requesting a lawyer. While suspicion surrounded him, the lack of physical evidence prevented his arrest. Meanwhile, a startling discovery deepened the mystery: a life insurance policy Deborah had taken out months earlier. The beneficiary? Alan Bregson. Just 2 days after her murder, Alan had contacted the insurance company to request a payout. Detectives couldn't rule out a motive. But Alan's alibi, a seemingly tight timeline, helped him evade handcuffs. Without direct evidence, the case was frozen, like Miami's rare snowfall that year. Forensic technology in the 1970s was incapable of extracting the secrets hidden in the evidence. Deborah's case fell into obscurity, a ghost haunting Miami's unsolved files. Decades passed. In 2019, the Miami Police Department reopened Deborah's case. Advances in DNA technology offered a glimmer of hope. Detective Marissa Taylor, head of the Cold Case Unit, reviewed the evidence. A single photograph caught her eye, a hair found on Deborah's arm. With modern testing methods, this could finally crack the case. Forensic scientists analyzed the sample. Months later, the results came back, a family match to Alan Bregson. It was the breakthrough the detectives had been waiting for. Taylor dug deeper. Alan, now 75, had retired to North Carolina. Further investigation uncovered irregularities in his alibi. Airline records showed he had rescheduled his flight back to Miami for the Thursday before Deborah was murdered, not the Sunday he had previously claimed. But there was one detail missing: motive. The team re-interviewed Ray Sobel, now in his 80s. This time, he was cooperative. He revealed that Elaine had discovered Alan's affair with Deborah shortly before the murder. He described Alan's demeanor as out of control, adding, he was desperate to keep his life together. Detectives obtained a search warrant for Alan's DNA. The DNA matched hair found on Deborah's body. The once powerful real estate mogul now faces murder charges. At trial, the prosecution portrayed Alan as a man driven by greed and fear. They argued that he killed Deborah to silence her and secure insurance money. The defense struggled to counter incriminating DNA evidence and inconsistent testimony. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When the verdict was announced, guilty of second-degree murder, the courtroom was silent, except for the soft sobs of Deborah's family. Alan was sentenced to life in prison. For Deborah Clarke's family, justice brought closure but not peace. Her sister later remarked, "I just wish he would admit it. Say he loved her. Say he was sorry." Alan Bregson's conviction marked the end of a 42-year manhunt. But it was also a testament to the tenacity of detectives and the power of science. Even with Alan Bregson's conviction, the story of Deborah Clarke's murder still leaves lingering questions that refuse to fade. Justice has been served in court, but for those close to the case, the motives, lies, and intertwined relationships that shaped Deborah's tragic death still haunt their thoughts. Detective Marissa Taylor, who worked to bring Deborah's case back into the spotlight, has spent countless hours reflecting on the investigation. One detail haunts her: Alan's wife, Elaine. Her responses in early interviews hinted at a deeper involvement. Was she complicit? Did she know Alan was capable of such violence? Taylor has re-examined Elaine's connection to the case. Old records show that she quietly filed for divorce just months after Deborah's death, citing irreconcilable differences. However, interviews with close friends show that Elaine confided in her suspicions about her husband's actions. She discovered not only the affair but also Alan's attempts to manipulate Deborah financially through a life insurance policy. The possibility that Elaine knew about the crime but chose to remain silent to protect the family's image worries Taylor. Could she have been an unwilling accomplice, or was she just another victim of Alan's controlling nature? Meanwhile, Deborah's family struggles to move forward. Her sister, Kate, often visits Deborah's grave, bringing her fresh flowers and speaking to her as if she were still alive. "You were more than this tragedy," Kate whispers. "I hope you know that." Forensic breakthroughs solved the murder, but the case is a painful reminder of how lives intertwined by greed, love, and betrayal can fall apart so tragically. Deborah Clarke's story has become a cautionary tale, proof that time may hide the truth, but it can never erase it.